Do you want to be ahead of the game for the latest in arts, music, cuisine, and entertainment across the Middle East's most dynamic capital cities? Al Monitor is proud to launch our City Pulse newsletters, focused exclusively on local news, starting in Riyadh, Dubai, Istanbul, and Doha. Each week, our on-the-ground writers in these cities cover the latest cultural happenings and trends, so you have everything you need to know for the best local experiences. To subscribe for free, go to almonitor.com, that's al-monitor.com, and sign up on our newsletter page.
Welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief. I'm Adam Lucente. The ceasefire and hostages deal between Israel and Hamas is progressing, but not without complications. Hamas released 4 female Israeli soldiers on Saturday, while Israel released 200 Palestinian prisoners. However, the fact that female civilian hostage Arbel Yehud was absent from Saturday's cohort prompted Israel to delay the reopening of a corridor in northern Gaza. The corridor later reopened, and thousands of displaced Gazans began returning home on Monday, and more hostages are set to be released on Thursday. However, the ordeal demonstrated the fragile nature of the ceasefire. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is facing pressure from both the hostage families and the far right of his cabinet over the agreement. My guest this week is the head of Al Monitor's Israel Pulse, Rina Bassist. Rina takes us through Israel's present thinking on the deal, as well as the disagreements within Israeli society and politics, and what it all means for Netanyahu's government. Hope you enjoy. Rina, welcome back to the Al Monitor Brief.
Thank you for having me.
Rina, I want to start with an overview of where things stand in Israel with the ceasefire and hostages deal. What is the current status of the agreement, and what does Israel view as the remaining points of disagreement with Hamas?
Well, evidently, Adam, the ceasefire is extremely fragile, and we have seen that these past few days. Still, I would say that for the moment, at least, the ceasefire is holding. On Saturday, the deal was close to collapse because Hamas did not liberate Israeli female civilian Arbel Yehud, as it was expected to do according to the mediate agreement. Hamas actually claimed it had technical difficulties liberating her because she is held by another group affiliated with the Islamic Jihad. But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu refused to accept this explanation of Hamas. And while Israel, of course, all Israelis welcomed the liberation of 4 Israeli female soldiers Saturday morning, Israel said it will not open the Netzarim corridor. Now, this is the corridor which separates the south of the Gaza Strip from the north. And already on Friday, so one day before the last liberation of hostages, thousands of Gazans started moving towards this Netzarim corridor, hoping, of course, to be able to go back home, to go back to the north. The thing was that Israel refused to open the passage until it receives guarantees that Arbel Yehud is alive and that she will be liberated very soon. And it was only after Hamas agreed to liberate her and 2 other hostages this coming Thursday that Israel actually agreed to open the Netzarim corridor. And indeed, Adam, yesterday morning, Israel opened Netzarim, enabling tens of thousands of Gazans to travel from the south of the Strip to the north. Those people traveling by vehicle were inspected by an American company to verify that they were not trying to smuggle weapons into the north, but the many Palestinians on foot were actually allowed to cross this Netzarim corridor without any inspection. I would also say that the Israeli military has dismantled earlier yesterday its roadblocks over there, and is now in the process of retreating from urban areas as actually agreed in the ceasefire. Now, you were asking also about the main points of disagreement remaining between Israel and Hamas. And I would say that Israel and Hamas should start negotiating in the 16th day of the deal. We're not there yet. The second phase of the deal. We are now in the first phase. And we are in a situation where the agreement is very detailed for this first phase of 33 days. But after that, we have only the general outline. Which is the liberation of the rest of the hostages, which is the release of more Palestinian prisoners, which is the Israeli military fully retreating from the Strip. Now, the Israeli far right under no circumstances agrees to a full retreat of the Israeli military from the Gaza Strip. And also we have Netanyahu, who had said several times that Israel must maintain control over the Philadelphia corridor. This is the stretch of land on the border of Gaza with Egypt. And he wants to prevent the smuggling of arms into the Strip from Egypt. So that's one side of the disagreement. Now, Hamas, on the other hand, demands to remain as part of the solution for the administration, for the reconstruction of Gaza. So I would say that we still have very heavy portfolios on the table to be discussed before we will see the implementation of this second phase of the deal.
Thank you. Another question is, how does the Israeli public view the progress of the deal so far? Specifically, the number of hostages that have been released, and also the reopening of the Netzarim corridor.
I would say, obviously, all Israelis were very united, an immense joy over the liberation, first of the 3 Israeli civilian hostages, and then the 4 Israeli young female soldiers last Saturday. That being said, the pressure within the families of the hostages is now really reaching a peak, especially after the government received from the Qatari mediator the list by Hamas. It received it on Sunday with the number of the hostages that are alive and, of course, with the number of those who are not alive. And what is even more difficult for the families is that the liberation of hostages is spaced 3 every week. They are not all released together. And that's, in fact, we have only 33 that are going to be released in this first phase of the deal. I would add maybe another element, also that the families greatly fear that the Netanyahu government will not continue to implement this second part of the deal, which we discussed, which includes the ending of the fighting and the full withdrawal of the Israeli army from the Gaza Strip. So we have the families on one side, and then on the other side, of course, we have the Israeli far-right politicians who are pressuring Netanyahu to do exactly that, not to implement the second phase, but rather to resume the fighting in Gaza until Hamas is completely defeated. That is what they are saying. And they also say that they show force by Hamas when they release the hostages both times. We saw a lot of Hamas militants carrying arms and so on. And for the Israeli far-right, this is a sort of a proof that the organization can still threaten Israel and put it at risk. So they are not going to back away from their demands. And I think we will see in the coming days this rift, this conflict between the families on the one side and the Israeli far-right on the other. It's really dominating the public debate in Israel.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with Rina Bassist after this short break.
Today's transformation of the Middle East is at the center of global geopolitics. Whether you're an analyst, diplomat, executive, or academic, you need the best reporting and analysis to understand what's really happening on the ground and what it means for the world. Al-Monitor is the award-winning independent leader in Middle East news. From Riyadh to Beirut, Abu Dhabi to Doha, and Baghdad to Tehran, our team of over 100 expert journalists report daily on the top stories driving the regional trends. Download our mobile app and subscribe to Al-Monitor to follow what leaders and decision makers are reading every day. Go to almonitor.com, that's AL-MONITOR.com, and use promo code POD25, POD25, for a discount.
Okay, we're back. Rina, you spoke about the political disagreements within Israel. I want my last question to be about that. What is the future of the Netanyahu government after this agreement? And also, what is the significance of Bezalel Smotrich withdrawing his resignation?
Yes, of course, your two questions are intertwined. Now, we had already the resignation of National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir right after the government approved the deal with Hamas. And this resignation of far-right Ben-Gvir actually left Prime Minister Netanyahu with a very small majority. He now has 62 Knesset members out of 120. On the other side, Mr. Ben-Gvir said specifically that he will not try to topple the Netanyahu government. So on the face of it, while his majority is small, Netanyahu's coalition is not, for the moment, not in danger. That being said, if Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich, with his pro-settlement religious Zionism party, if Smotrich decides to quit, then Netanyahu will lose his majority. So obviously Netanyahu at the moment greatly depends on this far-right Smotrich to keep his majority together.
Rina, thanks a lot for your time today, and we look forward to more of your reporting.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Al Monitor Brief. Follow Al Monitor for more on the stories impacting the Middle East.